Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show, the on-the-road travel happy Thanksgiving edition of the show. We're happy to see you all here, and we've got a lot of news to stuff you with ahead of your Thanksgiving. I'm Trevor Lane, joined by Keith Smith. Keith, we didn't get on earlier this week. I was traveling, and then yesterday completely got away from me. How are you doing, my friend? It's been too long.
Yeah, I'm doing well. It's that kind of time of year, right? There's just a million things going on, and hopefully all good things though for everybody and everybody watching. We won't be with you guys tomorrow, so have a great Thanksgiving. I always say enjoy the family, friends, food, and football. And if you don't like any of those things, well, there's some hoops on that you can watch later in the day. AJ DeBonce's on in the middle of the day around 5 o'clock or so you can check that out. There's some good college games on. No NBA tomorrow, but it's a packed slate tonight. There's a ton of games tonight, so yeah, it's going to be a very busy couple of days here leading into what should be then a very busy weekend as well.
Keith, I am now going to be distracted for the rest of the show because I just found out that I have Thanksgiving decorations that I can play with here.
Nice. Well done.
Oh,
I like that one. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that may be the keeper there. We can even change the back. I don't know if we need to change the background.
I think we leave it like this.
We roll like this. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our topics here before anybody clicks off of our show. All right, let's go here. The Sacramento Kings are open to trading veterans. Hallelujah. Keith, finally, the Kings are recognizing that a rebuild, it's unfortunate. Obviously they missed the playoffs for 17 straight years. They had their 1 year coming back. The Light the Beam team was fun and everything. But I believe you and I have both been in alignment on this, as we tend to be, that Sacramento probably does need to tear this team down and rebuild it again. That as much as they try to fight and keep this team afloat, I think they're only prolonging the inevitable. So the Kings open to trading Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, your DeMar DeRozans of the world, these types of players, basically Keegan Murray and Nick Clifford, the guys they want to hang on to. Are you celebrating this the way I am, Keith, and agree that this is what they need to do?
Yeah, and celebrating it is probably maybe a step too far, but I think it's the smart move. This report came from Sam Amick over the weekend, who's all over anything Kings, and basically said Scott Perry realizes like it's probably going to have to be a rebuild. And I saw some chatter where people were like, a rebuild, it was never built, but they did make the playoffs. And then they did try to add to that team to try to kind of further their playoff run. And it just didn't work out. And now, veteran guys. So that means Sabonis, LaVine, DeRozan, definitely, on the block. I wouldn't be surprised if they get the right offers for Dennis Schroeder or even Russell Westbrook if they trade those guys. I think we're in a position where the Kings, Malik Monk as well, obviously Dario Saric, Drew Eubanks, if anybody wanted those guys. But yeah, and then it kind of looks like Keegan Murray and Nick Clifford are the guys they're going to keep and then try to rebuild. That doesn't mean they're going to trade all of these guys. Matter of fact, I'll go on record right now saying they probably won't trade all of these guys. I think that's almost impossible to do. So it's going to be a challenge for them to kind of figure it out and kind of hit on the right guys to trade with the right mix. They're not going to be giving any of these guys away. But yeah, if you could clean up the salary sheet, kick off a rebuild, that's probably the direction you need to go in.
Yeah, celebrating was definitely too far because obviously and maybe even the word failure may be too far, but it's not gone the way that they wanted it to with this group, with this, this era of Kings basketball. But I just think I think denying the inevitable and not just going ahead and tearing this thing down as much as you can. As you said, they're not going to trade everybody. I think
the pumpkin's like blocking my head. I just realized I'll just lean a little bit.
It's okay. It's just one of the perils. It's a little bit of the holiday fun. It builds character. We have to dodge various assortments of food and fall leaves and things of that nature in order to present our show today. That's okay.
Here it is. We're going an extra mile for you guys.
Look at that. Look at that. It looks like you've got a pumpkin on your shoulder.
Yeah, right? Well, I took a bite out of it.
This is high quality podcasting here. For
big time, yeah. Right people are going to be thrilled with this one. Hope this is your first ever episode.
Speaking of which, make sure you hit the subscribe button if it is your first ever episode. But ultimately, I think this is a step towards a brighter future, much like with the Brooklyn Nets, where it's not fun right now with the Brooklyn Nets.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think the move to move on from Mikal Bridges and tear it down and rebuild and all that, I do think that's ultimately going to lead them to a brighter future, even if the process in the early going might be a bit painful. I think it'll be the same with the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's time. They're the one guy who there's a lot of discussion about is Keon Ellis. He's 26. So he's like right in that range where you could trade him as a veteran and not extend him, or they could extend him themselves. He becomes extension eligible. And I know I messed this up over the summertime and get a lot of Kings fans in a tizzy about it, but he becomes extension eligible on, I believe it's February 9th, but it's like right after the trade deadline. So I would say if they hang on to him, good chance he gets extended. If they move him, then we'll see what a new team decides to do with Keon Ellis. But he fits either way, whether you're rebuilding or you're staying forward. But for him to fit, we need Doug Christie to really show more faith in him and play him more. The problem is there's just a lot of guards on this team, and that's where it gets really kind of messy with him and Nick Clifford overlapping with guys like DeRozan, Levine, Monk, even Schroeder and Westbrook, like a lot of guard wing type players where it's very hard to get them all minutes. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, I think this is the right move for the Kings. I think Sabonis is one of, we'll go to the next topic here, one of plenty of centers that seem like they're going to be available via trade this summer. Jake Fisher just had a piece on the Stein line about a lot of other centers being available. Nick Vucevic was included in that list. Robert Williams in there. Yusuf Nurkic, who I've been talking about Nurkic now for a little bit, where he's actually played pretty well for the Jazz. You're not going to get a monster return for him or Robert Williams. Probably not even a monster return for Vooch, but all those guys could get, if their teams choose to pivot into trading them away, you could get some helpful assets down the line. Again, you're going to clear up your books a little bit for the rest of this year. Maybe one way you up the return is you say for like a Vooch, hey, we'll take on an extra year of money you don't want, but turn that from 2 seconds into a first maybe. And that could be a way you do that if you're the Bulls. And the Bulls started out really, really hot, playing really well. They've really come back to earth. I think they're now only a game above 500 and kind of settling in, to the lower end of the play-in tournament.
Yeah, and that's, Sabonis will be in the upper tier of bigs who could be available. But as Jake Fisher was noting, like there's a renaissance at the big position in the NBA. They are more in vogue than they've been in the past. And teams are now realizing that they have to add bigs, especially when we're seeing some teams that are running, like the Houston Rockets being the prime example, running multiple bigs out there on the floor.
Yeah.
And so those bigs are going to be more in demand. And of course, Anthony Davis, if he can show health, he's going to be probably the top of that list. But it does look like there's going to be a lot of centers out there available on the trade market, which I do think the closer we get to the trade market, and maybe it's just me just naturally being optimistic about this stuff, but the closer we get to trade season truly kicking off, which we are now, just a few weeks away from, I'm getting more and more optimistic about there being a pretty good amount of activity this year at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Eastern Conference feels very wide open. There's the Cavs and the Knicks, I would still say, should be the favorites. That's no slight against the Pistons or the Raptors or anybody else. But Cavs and the Knicks, I think, are in their arcs as teams of we're not going to push for every single regular season win anymore. We'll win enough to get home court advantage in the first round, and then we'll kind of play it out from there. But I think they're still the favorites, but they're not like overwhelming favorites. Again, Detroit, Toronto, I think would feel like, hey, we have a chance. Orlando, Atlanta, why not us? Right? If we can get in there, why can't we, be a team that maybe can sneak in? And I know there are some who are saying, why would anybody bother? It's just going to be the Thunder again. And that's hard to argue against. They're so good. But I think with the Thunder, the reality is, what if they do stumble? They did have 2 7-game series in the playoffs last year. What if, somebody does trip them up? What if they do have an injury that they can't get past? What will happen with them? And you want to put yourself in a position where, all right, we're next up. We'll be the next team to kind of run. Even all those years where it was like Warriors, Cavs, we knew it in July. we saw it in the following June. It was Warriors Cavs. Teams were still trying to go for it because you want to be there if one of those teams stumbles. And that's why I do think we're going to have a pretty robust trade market of teams kind of trying to load up. Plus, you also have a lot of teams that are looking at cap space and the like, where it is, hey, let's position ourselves to have even more cap space. And I think that's, all really important stuff.
Right. It was some very important factors there when we're looking at the buyer side and the seller side of the market, supply and demand, and all of that. So I think it's going to be a really interesting trade market. And like you said, every team can't just look at the situation and go, well, Thunder are too good. Let's tear it down and rebuild. Yep. And then we'll try again when the Thunder age out. Like nobody's going to do that. Teams are still going to go. They're going to challenge that strength. They're going to challenge the power that the Thunder have, and they're going to see if they can be the team to knock them off. And look, I say it a bunch. We went through the bulk of last season saying it's Celtics, Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals, and nothing's going to stop that from happening. And then neither one of them made it there. You just never, and that felt like one of the biggest certainties that we had in the sport. And you just never know. You just never know for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, to keep it really family friendly here, in case you got little ones and you're listening to this with them around. Stuff happens, right? Stuff happens. Like we'll leave it at that. On our next one, Hornets are maybe now willing to listen on LaMelo Ball. This feels like we're getting all kinds of conflicting reporting on this, but the latest report was maybe he hasn't asked for a trade, but the Hornets are at least willing to listen. Where it sounds like in years past it had been, let's shut that down right away. Now it sounds like they're at least somewhat open to it. And I think for the Hornets, that signals maybe a sense of, all right, hey, we're not going to just trade them to trade them. But if you come with a really strong offer, we're good with building around Con Knipple and the rest of this rookie class we have, and maybe Brandon Miller. But I also think the Hornets are like, in the meantime, we're finally starting to get all these guys back healthy. And let's take a look at what it looks like to see when they're together. Can we start to play a little bit better? I've called them all year long the fun bad team. And that really fits because they're rarely ever out of games. They're usually playing pretty close games, and they're just very young and they don't really know how to win yet. But I'm curious to see what happens with this one. Now, I think one of LaMelo Ball, John Moran, or Trae Young gets traded ahead of the trade deadline. I just don't know who it'll be.
It's all three of them for each other.
Yeah,
of course.
That's the easiest way to do it. Just swap them all around and call it done and move along. Yeah, exactly. Shuffle some deck chairs around on the Titanic.
Exactly. I do think that the Hornets should listen on LaMelo Ball and see what's out there, see what's available. Of course, I don't think they should trade him if they don't feel like the offer is good enough, because I think that could very well wind up being selling low on him, just given where his value's at right now, the questions about injuries and that sort of thing. But he's another guy out there, and part of why I think we're going to see a robust trade market, because there's a lot of players that are going to be out there that are, well, there's a lot of flawed players out there, but nonetheless, they are intriguing names that I can see teams talking themselves into, and LaMelo Ball is certainly among that group. Speaking of the trade front, though, and apologies everybody that for watching on the YouTube channel that I'm so slouched back in this chair. I've spent after doing the play-by-play for last night's game and doing multiple shows already today, I have been leaned forward in this seat for so long. My back is killing me.
It's Thanksgiving. You're supposed to be relaxed and chill.
That's right. Exactly. I just need a little plate of leftovers, and I'm good to go.
There you go.
The Heat seeking clarity on the ability to trade Terry Rozier. Now, obviously, we've joked about Terry Rozier's contract quite a bit, and the fact that it's like what is it, like 95% guaranteed or something like that?
Yeah,
like an absurd amount is non-guaranteed on his contract, but nonetheless, it's an expiring deal that could potentially be a valuable one in a trade. But given the investigation, everything going on, the Heat need to know, if we try to trade this guy, are we going to be allowed to, or is it going to be kicked back because of this investigation? The Heat haven't been thrilled either. They felt like maybe they kind of got sold a lemon, because obviously these investigations were to some degree underway when the Hornets traded him initially to the Miami Heat. So would Miami have gone through with the trade had they known about what was going on? So there's that whole side of the conversation too. But right now, Miami trying to get clarity. Hey, if we trade this guy as an expiring contract, even not as somebody that may step on the floor, will the league sign off and approve that deal?
Yeah, and that's one part of this. I don't think anything's going to happen there as far as them filing a grievance or anything. But I do think what we are going to see is, eventually at some point the league needs to tell them, yes, you can trade him, or no, you cannot. It can only be one or the other. Because if you don't if you keep holding them up, I mean, it sounds crazy to say it, but we're like a little over 2 months out from the trade deadline. That's just how quickly everything comes here. So they're going to have to give them some sense of this is where we are, because otherwise, Miami is sitting there with $27 million contract, basically. That's just dead money on their books. And maybe we get to a point where Miami says, you know what, we're just going to waive him for the roster spot more so than any kind of cap flexibility. Because like you said, they don't really get any kind of meaningful cap flexibility, but maybe they'd like, I think what they'd really like is, hey, we getting clarity of like this dude's contract's just being voided because he's banned. Like, where are we going with this? But my guess is we're probably not going to get any kind of real answer on anything with Terry Rozier until we get into closer into the trade season, probably around the first of the year, maybe is when something will come up. Or maybe the NBA is just saying, hey, come to us for the trade and we'll rule on it then. They may not be, that could be where it's at as well.
What do you think Miami would prefer? That they have the ability to trade Terry Rozier as just an expiring contract. He wouldn't actually suit up for the team getting him because the investigation going on, or that his salary is just wiped off the books and his contract is voided. From it, obviously, take out the human perspective of his contract being voided and all that, just purely from a math and game theory,
basketball sense. I think they'd rather have it tradable, because he comes off the books anyway after the year. If there were like 2 years left, then I think you would be in a spot. Like if this was a year ago, I think Miami would be like, you know what, he's not really playing for us. We're okay if this contract is voided, because then that allows us to get out of it free and clear, and we can kind of start over again, basketball wise, roster building wise. Now I think you'd rather have it as, I want the big tradable number, because with him you could throw him plus any number of other deals together and go get yourself a 35, 40, maybe even $45 million player if you wanted to go that high. And Miami's played really well so far. I think I inadvertently left them out when I ran through the East teams that have played really well. They've played great. Tyler Hero now back and played really well in his first game. I don't know if you saw, took and made more mid-range shots in his first game back than he'd ever taken. And a lot of it was just in the new flow of their new offense. So I think Miami's feeling pretty good. And I think you'd rather have that big number to put into a trade if you could.
Heard of the Sleeper app? Well, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more, like live stats, including real-time updates and visualization on all the stats, a news feed with lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, and a real-time chat that allows you to engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA seasons. Download the #1 sports app today, experience it for yourself, and use promo code CAPSPACE. You'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, let's go here. Some unfortunate injury news. Aaron Gordon out with a hamstring strain. Christian Braun already out for the Denver Nuggets. So this is a big loss for the Nuggets. They did drop that game to Sacramento a few nights ago. Denver's a team that's largely been rolling, but now their depth is really going to be tested. And Aaron Gordon has been playing such great basketball for them over the course of the season so far, as well as last year. Ever since the 3-point percentage has gone up, he's been an extremely efficient and effective player. This is going to be something that the Nuggets are going to have to fight their way through, dealing with the loss of Aaron Gordon here.
Yeah, and they're just kind of cobbling it together right now. Peyton Watson, who had stepped in for Gordon in the past, was already starting for Christian Braun. So now you're in a spot where, all right, where do we go with this? They've been going with Spencer Jones, who's a two-way player. He hasn't really done a whole lot, but they trust him. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's a guy who's just kind of on offense. Hey, I'll set screens. I'll do my thing there, as opposed to putting Hardaway or Bruce Brown into the starting lineup. I think they started Zeke Naji in one of the games as well. And Naji, once again failed to kind of grab that opportunity and run with it. But yeah, Aaron Gordon, I think they said it's 4 to 6 weeks before they'll even reevaluate him. And we saw he tried to play through it last year and really had a hard time. So I bet you, let's say it's 6 weeks, it's like, yeah, he's like right there. It might even be another week or two. Let's really let this get fully healed up, and then we'll get him back out there, and we'll go. Because as long as they keep kind of winning at a fairly decent clip, I don't think they're going to catch Oklahoma City. So it's just win enough to kind of stay either even or just ahead of the Rockets, and I think they'll feel okay with that.
Yeah, agreed. And that's what we're looking at in the West. You do want to stay. Again, we've got a lot of basketball left to play, but if you're Denver, you're keeping an eye on that. Stay ahead of the Rockets. Have home court in the first round. Right now, they're in a tie with the Lakers record-wise for the 2 seed in the Western Conference. As long as Denver keep their head above water, stay in that mix, try to keep the Rockets at arm's length, which easier said than done. The Rockets have been playing great basketball, but you look at the top 3 non-OKC teams in the West right now, they're all 8-2. That's the challenge you run into the West, though. Teams just keep winning. It's really hard to make up ground because they keep winning, especially at the top. Now, not the entire West, of course, because this year we've got below 500 teams that are playing teams in the Western Conference, but that upper echelon group tends to just steamroll through wins.
Yeah, I mean, and even look down to the Suns, right? They're 8-2. The Spurs and Timberwolves are both 6-4. So yeah, a lot of teams playing really good basketball in the West. And the only reason I went to Denver and Houston is I think they have the most staying power. I feel really sure about in the Western Conference, that they'll stay near the top. There's always a chance other teams slip, but yeah, I mean, if it stays like this, sure, I guess, why not? There's no reason the Lakers can't stick up there. The Lakers already won a bunch of games with guys out. No reason they can't run. We'll just go there next because it's the next one.
Yeah. Whoops. I was going to that.
DeAndre Ayton's out with some knee swelling. The good news, he had some imaging done that didn't show anything, any damage to the knee, but he does have some swelling. I know they initially ruled him out with a knee contusion. So we'll see. They did make a move on the two-way front. It's not a separate topic here in our show rundown, but they waived Christian Coloco and brought in Drew Timme. Drew Timme was active in their game last night on Tuesday night, right? So we'll see, what happens there. That was just a little more depth. I had heard they just kind of felt like did run the course with Coloco where it just wasn't clicking for him. So they wanted to get somebody who gives a little bit of a different look, a little bit of a different skill set in there with Timme to get a look at. So that's fine, but that maybe signals, all right, we're going to be really, really careful here with DeAndre Ayton because we're not going to push him to play if he's not really ready.
Yeah, Keith, there was a stretch there with the Lakers. They had DeAndre Ayton go down due to injury. They had Jackson Hayes was out for a bit. Maxi Kleber was not back yet. So multiple instances of scenarios where 2 of the 3 guys ahead of Coloco were unavailable and Coloco still was not used. Like at that point, the writing was on the wall that he probably wasn't going to be used. So, and Drew Timme was putting up big numbers in the G League, so worth giving him a look. But yeah, Ayton, it sounds like he'll be back. I believe the phrase JJ Redick used was by the end of the weekend. So not clear if he'll play on Friday. We'll have another topic on that in just a minute, but on Friday against the Mavs, but should be back by Sunday's game if he's not available for this one. So at least go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, looks like any kind of a significant injury was avoided here, and this is going to be a minor thing, miss a few games, and then he'll be back in action.
And that's the hope, right? Now we have seen with Ayton, sometimes he picks things up, and then it's play a game, miss a couple games, play a game, miss a couple games. So we'll see,
right,
where that goes. But anytime it's kind of the general knee swelling, that is a little worrisome, but it is good that there was no obvious damage to the knee, which obviously would have cost him and had him much longer.
Right. Exactly. And since I mentioned it, let's just jump to this. And we'll do the other piece of the Mavs part of it too.
Sure.
Anthony Davis is going to be returning to play the Lakers on Friday. Is essentially, they've all but said it. They said they want to, AD did practice today. They want to check and see how he's feeling tomorrow. But AD in some comments after practice was asked, you're going to play for your team plays Friday against the Lakers, Saturday against the Clippers. do you have a preference which game you play in if you come back? And he said, which game I want to play in. So I would put it at like 98.9% certainty Anthony Davis is playing on Friday for the Mavs.
I'll up it and go 99.9. I'll take the extra
99.9.
percent. Yeah, I'll jump on it. Yeah, I mean, and that's the one that makes far more sense too.
It's a tournament game too.
Yeah, tournament game. The Lakers is the far more difficult matchup than the Clippers have been this year for the Mavs. So, why not kind of throw everything into that one, trying to get that win? And as much as, we've kind of bemoaned the Mavs' poor start to the year, they're like 2 games behind the Grizzlies, who haven't been, world beaters themselves. Right. Someone's just going to fall backwards into the 10th spot. That 10th spot in the West feels a lot like the 10th spot in the East has felt most of the years of the play-in, where somebody just kind of stumbles into it. I don't know that any of these teams are going to really earn that spot, but somebody's going to kind of fall into it. I do think Portland will eventually pick it up and start to play better, more consistently, and start to, probably finish, around 500 or better. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to take a lot for one of these teams that's really struggling in the West to start to feel any kind of better about them.
Who is the best chance of those teams, do you think, of earning the 10 seed? And I mean, not stumbling backwards, like actually earning the 10 seed.
I don't know. I can't quit them, so I'll say the Clippers, just because they've got the most talent of any team. But they also don't have their own pick, so why not go for it, right? If you're the Clippers, the Jazz have very real reasons to finish top 8 protected pick, because then they keep their pick and then that just ends their obligation of the Thunder. It doesn't roll over into anything. It just goes away. So that's, really important for them. So I don't know. And then Dallas, if Dallas can get AD back on the floor to play at least any of the non-back-to-back sets, and then get Kyrie back, they could be kind of interesting, because they could also then be interesting as far as a team that could win a couple games in the play-in tournament and get into the actual playoffs.
Absolutely. Yeah, Kyrie changes. Kyrie and AD, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to be adding to a team. Now, unfortunately, they're going to be without Derek Lively for an extended time due to a foot injury. He has really struggled with health during his NBA career, and now he's going to be out again. I believe this was a couple of days ago that the word broke on Derek Lively, and that he was going to be reevaluated, or they would provide an update in 7 to 10 days. And it was not, I mean, getting an update in 7 just means that's when we'll say something else about this in like a little over a week, not, hey, he's back in a little over a week. So this is going to be a prolonged absence for him. And for me, when I'm looking at the Mavs, I think where I ultimately go with this is, does this make Daniel Gafford more difficult to trade if you are Dallas and you've got Derek Lively dealing with these injuries? Or do you continue to move forward and say, if the right offer is there, we'll take it for Gafford?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think there's a chance I still think you have to be smart, right? If some team comes and says, here's a whole bunch of stuff for Daniel Gafford, maybe then you do look to move him, just because, hey, this chance to really cash in at a position where we should assume we have some depth. That may mean, though, if you're trading him in the short term, that may mean more AD at the 5, which we know he doesn't really like. But that might be just, hey, too bad. This is the way we got to do it. But yeah, I can see where they might say, all right, you know what, we have Gafford on this pretty good deal. Let's just hang on to him versus making the move with him. It's funny because when I said back a while ago when AD went down again, and I was like, this is it. Like, the Mavs need to just, everybody's available except for Cooper Flag. Again, you don't have to just give guys away, but we're open to trading everybody. Had a lot of people bullying Derek Lively, right? And I was kind of like, I like Derek Lively, but this is, again, we're here again with this injury. So I'm not gonna put him on the untouchable list. I mean, there are very few actual untouchable players in the NBA, and almost fans think it's, my team has 5 of guys that are untouchable. It's like 5 to 10 in the entire league that are truly untouchable. And, insert Luka got traded, but even when you remove that, that's still really, there's like 5 to 10 guys. But yeah, I would definitely, again, I'm not not calling teams offering Derek Lively, but if I get the right offer that he's a part of, sure, I'm absolutely open to that.
All right, let's jump here. One player out, another player coming back. Giannis Antetokounmpo nearing a return. Boy, the Bucks definitely need him. They are just not the same team without him. Not a surprise because Giannis is incredible. He's an MVP candidate, all of that. But good news that Giannis Antetokounmpo. Am I misremembering? It's an adductor strain, is it not?
It was a groin. Yeah, groin. I like whatever
adductor.
They call it. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's the not good one. But it doesn't sound like it was super serious. He was spotted kind of on court warming up and shooting the other day before a game. So I think they're starting to feel like, okay, like we're getting close to this to a return for him. Yeah.
Great news for Milwaukee. Get him back in action. The Bucks right now have slipped. They've lost their last 5 in a row, and they've slipped to the 11 seed in the Eastern Conference. Giannis back. Does that right the ship, and the Bucks are right back in the mix, or does this slide continue?
In the mix for like the 8th to 10th spot?
No. Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, because right now they've dropped below the play-in. I mean, do they find themselves in the border, like 5 through 10 range is what I'm not
I don't
in
know
the mix
if they'll
for
get
like
up that
contending.
high. Like I think that's kind of I like every team from Orlando up. I like better than Milwaukee even with Giannis.
Exactly. And that's why I asked.
Yeah, that's where I think they're a playing tournament team with them. I think Chicago will fall out here eventually. I think Boston will be probably right around where they are now, right around 500. Philly, again, another team that started hot now is not kind of playing so well as teams have adjusted and they've had further injuries. So, yeah, I mean, the Bucks certainly can get themselves in there, but I don't think they're more than a playing team.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
All right, let's do a couple. Yeah,
I was going to say that's part of why we've got rumors out there that the Bucks like have poked around on Zach LaVine and players like that. They're a team to watch.
That's a tough one for them to make. I was on Milwaukee radio earlier today, and they asked me about that one, and that's a big number for them to go match on, and I'm just not sure how they would get there. I mean, you're talking Kyle Kuzma and another big salary would have to go because LaVine's like $45 million. So that's Kuzma, and then do you do Kuzma Portis plus? Then now all of a sudden, where's all my depth? Right now, I wiped out all my depth and all my front court depth. So kind of get it. They've never been afraid to make the big moves. They did it to go get Damian Lillard. They've done other, even Miles Turner. That was a big sequence of moves to wave and stretch Lillard and everything else. So I don't know, but boy, you're asking an awful lot to go get him. But if you feel like, hey, we can have LaVine, who's a 20+ point per game scorer, on pretty good efficiency, and we can add him without having to throw in a bunch of draft capital because maybe his price is down a little. Yeah, maybe you do make a move like that.
Does Zach LaVine impact winning in a positive way?
I think he can. I think we've seen Zach LaVine on a lot of teams. Sure, some of it is owed to him, but I think he's also been on a lot of teams that haven't been very, very good either. Now, some of that's him, but I think some of that is just the talent he's played with.
I just wondered, like, if you swap out LaVine, if you swap out Kuzma's not been great, but Kuzma and Bobby Portis for LaVine, like, are you decisively better?
Yeah, I don't know.
If you're the Bucks, that's the challenge.
Yeah. I worry about your depth at that point behind Turner and Giannis. Like now what? Now guys go down. You're talking Jericho Sims and the other Antetokounmpo brothers. It's pretty rough. Like there's not a whole lot in that front court.
All right, let's go here. RJ Barrett, the surprisingly game Toronto Raptors. RJ Barrett is going to be out of action with a sprained knee. Toronto right now finds them just like we predicted, Keith. As everybody expected the Eastern Conference to play out, the Detroit Pistons, the Toronto Raptors, and the Miami Heat are the 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference right now.
Just like we said in the summer. Yep.
Exactly. Don't even bother going back and listening to those shows.
Just trust us.
We definitely said that.
Yeah.
Completely trust us. But Toronto right now, 13-5 on the season, +7 point differential. Gotta love that. They're on an 8-game winning streak. but now they lose RJ Barrett. But with the rise of Brandon Ingram, they did a little pre-agency spending last year at the trade deadline and brought in Brandon Ingram. Do the Raptors have the depth to withstand this loss of RJ Barrett to a sprained knee?
Think they do because they have a lot of wings. That's where you're okay. You can plug in Ochai Agbaji, you plug in Grady Dick. They played Jamal Shedmore the other day, so you've got a whole bunch of guys you can go to if you're Toronto that you feel pretty good about playing. You could even play maybe a little bigger, slide Scotty Barnes down a position, play Brandon Ingram down a position as well if you needed to. You have a lot of options there to go to if you're Toronto, which is why I think they'll be okay with him. I think their thinnest spot is their center position because it's Jakob Poeltl, Sandro Mamukelashvili, who's playing incredible right now. And then they don't have a lot else. They can get by with some small ball stuff, but that's the spot there. But they're a little bit over the luxury tax. They're not going to want to be a tax team this year. So there's going to be something that happens there where I think they move off some money, but maybe bring in another big. But yeah, the good news, again, we already talked about a couple of these other injuries. There was some good news. No structural damage for RJ Barrett, and they're saying it's a week before he'll be reevaluated. So that's good because there was a thought to like, oh man, and this was he'd kind of landed awkwardly. And whenever that happens, you start to worry about, oh man, is there something serious going on here?
Right, exactly. So fortunately, he's avoided serious injury here. You mentioned the Raptors needing centers. I mean, we just mentioned how there's going to be a bunch of centers out there on the market. Maybe they wind up being one of those buyers for a Nick Richards or Yusuf Nurkic or someone, along those lines.
And when I say they need a center, I mean a depth guy.
Yes,
they don't need to go get a starting level guy
AD or something.
Yeah, unless it's a huge, obvious upgrade over Poeltl and Mamu. Just keep those guys. Just add one more guy to the mix because Poeltl, they're managing him. He's had a lot of back issues, so there are times when he's just going to be out for a game or two to let it settle down. And you want to be able to go to someone other than just Mamu because Mamu's doing great, but you don't want to overwork him and overexpose him either.
Like they'd be a more sensible landing spot for like a Nick Richards, somebody like that who can level up into a bigger role for shortened periods when you need him to, but can also dial it back and be in that kind of more of a reserve role for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt.
Another injury we need to get into, Landry Shamet, who's played well for the Knicks, is now out with a shoulder injury. I wish we were getting less injuries here throughout the NBA, but Landry Shamet out. What is this going to mean for the Knicks here as they're sitting as the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference heading into Thanksgiving?
Yeah, Landry Shamet was starting for OG Anunoby. They'd moved Bridges up a position. They're playing with the two bigs and they playing Bridges at the 3 and then Shamet starting. And he had just the day before he got hurt, he had dropped 30-something points and hit a whole bunch of threes and looked really, really good. Again, position where they have depth. They still have Josh Hart. They have Jordan Clarkson. You have Deuce McBride. You have Tyler Kolek, who's been getting more run. They tried kind of giving minutes to Mohamed Diawara. That didn't really go so well. He didn't kind of really grab that role, but they'll be okay. Just though, remember, Shamet missed like the first part of last season rehabbing a shoulder injury. It does sound like they're going to try to rehab it again versus surgery because if he has surgery, he might be done for the year. So maybe they can rehab it and then get him back out on the floor. But it's just, this is a good example, kind of same thing with the Aaron Gordon injury. Good teams, all right, they got the next guy's fine. But then if the next guy goes down, then where do you go? And that's where it starts to become kind of troublesome. So the Knicks can get through this, but now you're down Shamet and Anunoby. Now you're asking other guys to play a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's where your depth really starts to get tested and can be a problem for you. All right, let's jump over here. Jaylen Williams is going to miss out on the 30% max. He's not going to hit the games played necessary in order to qualify for the awards this year. Unfortunate for him because he's a phenomenal player, was an all-NBA player last season, was an all-star, and now he's not going to qualify to get up to this max here. So, Keith, this is tough. I mean, obviously, he's still going to make plenty of money over the course of his NBA career, but for a guy, a young player that's incredibly talented, this has got to sting a little bit for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is anytime a guy misses out. Now, there's nothing nefarious going on here. People instantly run to, well, the Thunder are holding him out on purpose to save money. He's not ready to play. Like, he had off-season wrist surgery, and then in October he had a second procedure on the wrist. So he's just not ready, and they'll play him when he's ready, and we'll go from there. And I know there were some that were like, well, if he plays every game and they make the Cup final, and he plays in that, well, yeah, okay, sure, but he's not gonna do that. That's not going to happen. He wasn't going to play every game the rest of the way. So we're in a spot here with him where his contract will go to $41.5 million as the cap projects right now. Same as Chet Holmgren. It saves him about $7-8 million for the Thunder off next year's bill, plus a little bit as it would grow going forward. But it kind of is what it is there. His also was, for him to get to the 30% max, he needed to win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, or make first team All-NBA. He had kind of the step up language where it's going to be 26, 27%, I believe, 28% maybe if it was third or second team All-NBA. So he's not going to make any of those now, and it kind of is what it is. But it was, when I tweeted that out yesterday morning, it was kind of funny getting the reactions from people because like, oh yeah, because Oklahoma City needed even more help.
Right, exactly. I mean, does this could be the difference between them, like hanging on to a Lou Dort or Isaiah Hartenstein, or, and I think they'll hang on to those guys anyway, but maybe Kenrich Williams, right? Like those, sure. Maybe there's a decision that gets gets made that would not have been made that way had that money been on the books for the Thunder.
Yeah, and if you're looking to sneak away from forced family fun time, and you got to go do something, you want something to read, I wrote a long thing for Spot Track all about the Thunder earlier this week. You find it on my Twitter timeline, and it just basically lays out like, hey, this is how we got here, and this is why they're not going away anytime soon. And everybody who says, well, the second apron will come for them too, yeah, not really, not like it did for other teams.
It will, but they have so much young talent ready to fill in that when those guys get expensive, they already have replacements prepared for them.
Yeah, that's exactly. He overpaid Hartenstein, on his deal. So if he takes a little less to stay, like it's all going to work out just fine for OKC.
All right, let's finish up with this. Dylan Harper back on Wednesday night. Keith, this is the kind of Thanksgiving news that we want. Dylan Harper back in action. Really exciting young player for the Spurs, a team that's been hit by a number of injuries. Good to see this, that he'll be back in action here. It's been a pretty good rookie class so far, and Dylan Harper was the guy I was really trying to keep an eye on, and I'm excited that he's going to get back in action here for San Antonio. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm really excited to see him. Hopefully Wemby and Stephon Castle won't be too far behind. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm really fired up for Dylan Harper to get back on the court. Spurs are hanging in there in the playoff picture rather for the West. And I think they'll probably be right there all year long. I don't know that many teams are going to run up and challenge them, but they need to get their guys back. And Dylan Harper was off to such a good start. It'll be just good to get him back on the lineup. And it's very funny because the Spurs went from like, how are they going to play all these guards to all of a sudden it was like, they don't have enough guards. Like what's happened here? Because even Jordan McLaughlin, who's a depth guard for them, he's been out as well. So they've been just kind of manufacturing it a little bit and putting the ball in Jeremy Sohan and Keldon Johnson's hands off the bench a lot. So Harper getting back will be huge for them.
All right, and then let's finish with this. Chris Paul calling it a career. He announces he will retire. He's been in and out of the Clippers rotation, been coming off the bench, but then he did get DNP'd a few games. So I'm not surprised that he's finally saying, okay, you know what? If Clippers aren't exactly winning a lot of games right now, and if I'm still not necessarily a locked in part of the rotation, maybe it is time that I just call it. He can be 57 years old. He's still going to be hitting that little 15-foot jumper.
Yep.
He's still going to be
the elbow
running.
Jumper. Yep.
Exactly. The elbow jumper. He's going to be knocking those down all day long, but hell of a career from Chris Paul. And we'll see what the retirement tour looks like for him. But one of the best point guards we've seen in NBA history for sure. And I'm glad he's getting to kind of go out on his own terms and say, okay, I think I'm ready to call it.
Yeah, and it's funny because instantly it goes, so where does he rank all time? And when people had asked me, I said, I'm not really ready to do that and I'll forget people, but very high on the all-time point guard list, like very high. And then that also comes into like, what do you do with Steph? Is Steph a point guard or is he just something different? Because I don't think Steph necessarily fits the traditional point guard definition. But Chris Paul, Steph, Magic Johnson, John Stockton, Jason Kidd, like Isaiah Thomas, those guys are all way up there on that list. And Chris Paul slots in somewhere in that company, third, fourth on that list. I don't know, somewhere in that grouping. I mean, just an incredible career for him. The longevity of being an extremely productive player all the way through too is kind of fun too, because this kind of came out of nowhere on Saturday. The Clippers were playing the Hornets in an afternoon game, and Chris Paul, who's from the Charlotte area, said, "This is it, last time playing here at home and in front of the home crowd," meaning the Hornet Charlotte area fans. Then everybody's like, "Oh wait, I guess that's it. I guess he's done." So here we are with Chris Paul. But we'll talk more about this when it actually does end, whenever it ends at the end of the season for the Clippers. But great career for Chris Paul, and he's not gonna go away. We're gonna see Chris Paul, I think, on one of the studio shows or something, because he's just too smart of a basketball player to just disappear entirely from the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Chris Paul, incredible career. We'll do more of a send out for him when he actually plays his final game. But I want to say, everybody, hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving coming up tomorrow. Hope you enjoy some food, some family, football, all of that. And Keith, same to you and your family. Glad we were able to jump on here and do this show and get through some of these big NBA news topics.
Yeah, without a doubt, you as well. And then anybody looking, might not be Front Office Friday, we'll let you know. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll let you know whether it's Friday or if we're going to do something over the weekend. You will get a live show with one or both of us at some point. We will get to it, but with traveling and everything else, we'll get all that figured out. But we'll get that to you guys later in the week. But thank you. We're thankful for you all and all you do with all your support and everything. So hit that like, hit that subscribe, share the show with a friend. We'd really, really appreciate it.
That's right. That's right. All right, everybody. Till next time. See ya. Stay safe and happy Thanksgiving.